on a distant alien space station called Zerthion Prime. Humans were rare. They were mostly workers, engineers, or scientists. One human, named Reese, lived in the lower quarters of the station. He was quiet, smart, and always kept to himself. But what made him strange to others wasn't his job or his behavior, it was his pet. A small, fuzzy creature with glowing blue eyes and soft white fur. Its name was Tycho, and to the aliens it looked like nothing special. It didn't bark, it didn't fly, it didn't spit fire or have tentacles like other pets on the station. It simply followed Reese, calmly, quietly, always observing. The alien guards often made fun of it. "Look at that Earth rat." One of them laughed. "Is that your dinner or your pillow?" Another teased. Reese never replied. He only gave a small smile and walked on with Tycho behind him. The teasing never stopped, but Tycho never reacted. It blinked, tilted its head, and just stared at the bullies. No one knew where Reese got the creature from. Rumors said it was from a band lab. Others said it was a failed experiment from Earth. Some joked it was just a mutated squirrel. But Reese treated it like family. One day, inside the cafeteria, a group of alien cadets surrounded Reese and Tycho. "Why do you carry this useless thing around, human?" One sneered. "It can't fight, it can't speak, and it just looks broken," said another. Reese took a sip of his drink and calmly answered, "He's more than he looks." The aliens laughed loudly. Drawing attention from nearby tables, "Prove it, the biggest one," Zernak said. Leaning close, "Let it fight in the simulation pit. Let's see what this thing can do." Reese stood up, his face serious. "Don't do this," he warned, but they didn't listen. That night, while Reese slept, the alien cadets sneaked into his room. They disabled the security and gently picked up Tycho, who didn't resist. They took him to the underground simulation lab, a place where young warriors trained against virtual beasts. The pit was a brutal test of strength and survival. Even trained fighters struggled to last more than 5 minutes inside. They tossed Tycho into the chamber and activated the program. Inside the simulation pit, everything changed. Tycho stood still. In a dark, rocky world surrounded by shadows, then the first beast appeared, a giant. Red-eyed lizard charged at him, teeth wide open. Everyone watching from the control room laughed. "This will be quick," Zernak said. Munching alien popcorn, but something strange happened. Tycho didn't run, and he didn't scream. He jumped so fast, the cameras almost missed it and landed on the beast's back. With one glowing claw, he sliced the beast's neck. The lizard roared once and fell. Silence filled the room. "Wait, what?" One cadet whispered. A second monster appeared. This one a flying insect the size of a car. Tycho rolled under its attack, leaped into the air, and exploded a glowing pulse from his chest. The insect fell, smoking. Now, the aliens weren't laughing. Reese, now awake, saw the alert on his wristband. Tycho engaged in combat simulation. His heart sank. He rushed toward the training sector, while inside the pit, the chaos grew. Tycho moved like liquid metal, changing speed, shape, and tactics with each fight. He was not just fighting, he was learning. The observers tried to shut down the system, but it refused. "Tycho has taken override control." One tech gasped. Zernak panicked. "Shut it off now." This is not a pay tease, a weapon. But the system was locked. Inside, Tycho stood atop the pile of fallen beasts, his eyes now glowing red instead of blue. Reese arrived at the control room, out of breath. He looked at the terrified cadets and then at the screen. "You shouldn't have done this," he said coldly. The station shook slightly as the simulation chamber's energy surged. Tycho stared up at the control cameras, still and silent. Then he did something no one expected. He smiled. The image sent chills through every alien in the room. He had been quiet, small and soft, but not anymore. This was the beginning. The pet they all laughed at was now the one they feared. After the chaos in the simulation pit. Tycho was taken back by Reese. The alien cadets were warned and the training center was locked down. But not everyone was afraid. Some were angry. Others were curious, and a few thought it was just luck. They whispered in the shadows, planning something new. Maybe that thing just got lucky. Zernak told his group he can't do it again. A slim alien named Truvek leaned forward. Then let's make it a bet. The room was quiet. Then Zernak smirked. All right, what do you have in mind? Truvik placed a small hologram on the table. It showed a secret training ground, deeper than the simulation pit. It was called Sector X. An old battlefield filled with traps, old bots, and forgotten tech. Even military drones were left behind. Still, active and dangerous. No rules, no safety nets, Truvik said. We drop the human pet there, and watch how long it survives. Zernak grinned. If it dies, Reese goes too. And if it wins? Asked a younger cadet. Zernak slammed his fist on the table. It won't. They all agreed. The bet was made. The next night, while Reese slept again, they returned. But this time they used stronger equipment. They trapped Tycho in a magnetic net and flew him silently to Sector X. Inside Sector X, the darkness was thick, and the air was filled with static energy. Rusty machines clicked in the shadows, and broken drone eyes still blinked in random places. They threw Tycho into the middle and activated the field. The doors slammed shut, and the bet began high above. In a hidden control tower, the aliens watched the screens. Truvik was excited. Now let's see what you really are, little rat, inside Sector X. Tycho stood still. The ground buzzed under his feet, sensors scanning his presence, old turrets turned on, glowing red. A mechanical voice echoed, unknown life form detected. Initiating defense mode, a drone dropped from the ceiling and fired its first pulse. Tycho dodged with perfect timing, rolling into cover. Another blast came, and Tycho leaped sideways, flipping over a broken tank. The aliens watching leaned forward, eyes wide. Tycho wasn't just dodging, he was reading patterns. He counted seconds between each shot, marked the turret angles, and memorized sound cues. Then he moved. Faster than before, he ran up the side of a metal wall and launched himself into the air. While flying mid-air, he fired a pulse from his chest, the same blue light from the simulation straight into the turret's core. Boom! Smoke filled the chamber. One turret down, 5 more to go. Zernak growled. This is not normal behavior for a pet, Truvik nodded. This is military-level instinct, but they didn't stop the test. They couldn't. Tycho moved forward, now facing the next wave combat bots with spinning blades. They moved in packs, circling him like wolves. Tycho stayed low, charging his claws with energy. When one bot lunged, he sidestepped and sliced its leg. Sparks flew, and the bot crashed. Another came, and another. But Tycho was faster each time. He wasn't just surviving, he was fighting back with strategy outside the chamber. A nearby security officer noticed something odd. He tapped into the Sector X feed and saw the battle. Who authorized this? He whispered. He sent a message to the captain, alerting the command center. Meanwhile, inside the arena, Tycho reached the core room. It was heavily guarded by a 4-legged droid called the Sentinel, covered in old armor and armed with laser cannons. It was built for war. The Sentinel scanned him and said, "Terminate target." The battle began. Tycho jumped across the room, avoiding the first 2 blasts. He slid under the next, then fired a sonic pulse, but it bounced off the Sentinel's armor. He was fast, but the enemy was strong. He needed a plan. He noticed energy cables running along the floor. leading to the walls, he rushed forward, letting the sentinel fire again. The shot hit the ground behind him, shaking the floor. Tycho used the shockwave to bounce higher and land on the wall. He clawed into the wiring and pulled hard. Sparks rained down, and the lights flickered. The sentinel paused for 1 second, just enough. Tycho jumped off the wall, spun mid-air, and slammed into the droid's head. The impact cracked the metal, and a second energy pulse burst from his chest. The sentinel screamed and exploded in blue light. Sector X fell silent. Smoke rose, lights dimmed, and Tycho stood alone, bruised, breathing heavily, but victorious. The screen faded to black in the control tower. No one spoke. Zernek's mouth was open. Truvik dropped his drink. The pet had survived again, but this time he had done more than survive. He had dominated. And worst of all, he had learned. The message was clear. The game was over. This was no pet. This was something else, and the real danger had just begun. The explosion in Sector X was not just a warning, it was a signal. A signal to those who had once designed the creature now called Tycho, far away in a hidden data vault on Earth. An old AI stirred from deep sleep. It scanned the alert, recognized the energy pulse, and said one word: Project Helix, reactivated, but back on Zerthion Prime. Reese was facing questions. 2 guards stood outside his room, and a high-ranking alien officer named Commander Valak demanded answers. "You knew what that thing was," Valak accused. "It's not a pet, it's a weapon." Reese sat calmly, rubbing a bruise on his arm. "He's not a weapon," he said. "He's family." Valak narrowed his eyes. "Tell me what it really is." Reese sighed and looked down at his wrist, where a small symbol glowed under the skin. "You want the truth?" he said. "Fine. 10 years ago, Earth was on the edge of collapse. Wars, viruses, and rogue AI had almost destroyed everything. In secret, a group of scientists began Project Helix. The goal: to create an adaptive life form, one that could survive in any world, learn faster than machines, and protect its chosen human. They didn't build a robot or a soldier, they built something better. They built Tycho, not metal, not flesh, but a hybrid, grown in a lab and enhanced with memory threads. Tycho was made to be silent, soft, and small until activated. Only 1 unit was completed before the project was shut down. The lab was attacked by off-world hackers, and everyone inside vanished, except one man, Reese. He escaped with Tycho in a capsule and went off the grid. They traveled through dead planets, smuggler ports, and abandoned colonies. Always hiding, always moving, until they reached Zerthion Prime. There, Reese tried to live quietly, hoping no one would ever wake Tycho's core. But now, after the Sector X battle, Tycho's code had begun to rewrite itself. In a quiet corner of the station, hidden inside a maintenance tube, Tycho lay motionless, but inside, a storm was building. His core glowed, data flickered across neural veins, and the hidden upgrade system began. Every battle, every attack, every scan from the simulation pit was recorded. Now it was being used to improve, to grow. Tycho's claws sharpened on a microscopic level, and his reaction speed increased by 20%. His internal AI was rewriting old combat rules, replacing defense with strategy. He was no longer just adapting, he was preparing. In the command center, engineers were panicking. "We've lost access to all surveillance bots." One said, "Something is jamming the signal." Commander Valak frowned. "Where's the creature now?" No one answered. At that moment, a voice echoed through the intercom system. It was Tycho. But not the soft, cute voice the aliens expected. This one was deep, calm, and intelligent. "You broke the rules," it said. "You hunted the Protector of a human without reason. Now the Protector has changed." The lights flickered, and across the walls, symbols appeared, Earth symbols, hidden code from the lost Project Helix. The aliens looked at each other, confused and scared. Zernak whispered, "It can talk. It can think," Truvik added, his voice shaking. Reese was released from his room, and he walked slowly into the command center. He faced Valak and said, "Tycho is awake now." Valak asked, "Can you stop him?" Reese shook his head. "I don't control him. I trust him." Meanwhile, deep inside the station's power core, Tycho moved through the vents. His body had changed, slimmer, faster, pulsing with quiet energy. He reached the mainframe room, a place where even the highest-ranking officers were denied access. With one touch of his paw, the door slid open. Security bots appeared but paused. Scanning his signature, they stood down, recognizing his authority level as Alpha Class. Tycho entered the chamber connected to the core and downloaded blueprints of the entire station. He now knew every hallway, every weapon, every weakness. And he wasn't stealing data, he was protecting his home, back in the command center. Valak asked one last question: "What does it want?" Reese looked at the glowing screen that showed Tycho's location. "He wants peace," Reese replied. "But if you touch me again, he'll give you war." Just then, the screen flashed and a message appeared. "Do not test the protector again." Everyone in the room fell silent. Outside, the station lights returned to normal, and Tycho's signal vanished from the system. But his presence was still there. Watching, learning, evolving, the upgrade was complete. But the real test was yet to come. Asterix silence had returned to Zerthion Prime. But it was the kind of silence that made everyone nervous, the kind before a storm, after the message from Tycho appeared. On every control screen, the station's leaders called an emergency meeting. Security protocols were raised, guards were doubled, and even the captain of the station was alerted. Reese, meanwhile, walked calmly through the halls, as if nothing had changed. Tycho had told him, "Stay where they can see you." So he did. But something was changing behind the scenes, something powerful in the lower sectors of the station. Near the waste tunnels, a hidden section long thought abandoned began to power up. It was part of the original construction built for war, but never used. Now Tycho had found it. He moved like smoke through the ducts, unseen, unreadable by scanners. His body was glowing faintly with energy as he reached the hidden bay. Inside were old drones, scrap parts, and large robotic shells. Tycho's eyes scanned everything in milliseconds. He had one goal: create an exit. But it couldn't be loud, not yet. He needed to escape the station, but not alone. He had to take Reese with him. Safely, back at the command center, Valak paced nervously. "Why didn't we destroy it when we had the chance?" he snapped. Zernak responded, "Because we didn't know it could do all this." Truvik added, "We still don't." Valak turned to his officers. "I want every power relay scanned, every vent sealed, every data line watched." But it was too late. Tycho had already bypassed them all. Meanwhile, Reese received a signal on his wristband. It was short, just one word. Now, he stood, nodded to himself, and began walking toward the lower lifts. No one stopped him, because they still thought he was just a human. No one knew he was the center of everything. In his mind, Reese remembered the training. Back when he helped create Tycho, he had been the youngest programmer in the Helix project. But he had also been the only one to treat Tycho like a living being, not just a tool. That bond had grown, even when the others disappeared. Now, it was their only weapon against the station. As Reese entered the lift, the lights dimmed slightly, then flickered back. It was Tycho's signal. The system was being overridden. The lift dropped suddenly, moving 10 times faster than normal. Reese held the rail, calm, knowing exactly where it was taking him. The doors opened to the hidden bay where Tycho waited, surrounded by scrap drones now active. They weren't hostile. They were synced to Tycho's command. "Took you long enough," Reese said with a grin. Tycho responded by projecting a 3D map of the station. It showed their planned escape route through the waste ejector shaft, then into space, and finally toward an old human shuttle floating in the debris field. But what about the seals? Reese asked. Tycho blinked twice. And new blueprints appeared, ones Reese had never seen before. Tycho had upgraded the escape pod using stolen station tech. He had turned garbage into a stealth ship. Reese whistled. You really don't play small. Anymore, huh? In the command center, alarms suddenly screamed. Unauthorized power flow near Waste Shaft 3. An officer shouted. Valak cursed. It's him, he's escaping. Seal the shaft, Zernak barked. Send drones. Now. But as they launched the attack drones, something unexpected happened. Every drone turned mid-air, paused, and then flew backward, crashing into walls or each other. Tycho had hacked their signals. He was controlling the very machines sent to stop him. The lights in the command center flickered again, but this time, the words on every screen were chilling. You hunted me. Now I run by choice, not fear. Do not follow. Valak slammed the console. Fire the auto turrets. Outside, near the waste shaft. Auto turrets came alive, spinning and firing blindly at shadows. But by the time they activated, the doors had already been sealed shut. Tycho and Reese were gone. Inside the shaft, they rode on a small left board surrounded by protective energy fields. Tycho crouched beside Reese, one paw glowing as he hacked the route in real time. The walls shook from explosions, but the duo stayed ahead. Seconds later, they burst into open space, floating in the void in front of them. The hidden human shuttle powered up, light blinking softly. Tycho opened the hatch, and Reese climbed inside, smiling behind them. The shaft sealed again, cutting off any chance of pursuit. On the station, chaos continued, but in the stars, the human and his protector drifted away, free for now, but still being watched. Because something else had noticed the breakout, a force far older than Zerthion Prime, and it wasn't laughing anymore. Captain Zaire stood at the edge of the command deck, staring at the massive screen that showed empty space. His sharp blue skin glowed under the flickering lights, and his two hearts beat faster than usual. The human and his strange pet had vanished. The station's best trackers couldn't find them. Every sensor showed the same thing: silence. No trace, no heat signature, no digital trail. It was as if they had simply stopped existing. Valak approached from behind, his face tense. They escaped through the waste shaft, sir, he reported. They used our own tech to build a stealth vessel. Captain Zaire didn't answer right away. He had seen many things in his long years' wars, rebellions, strange species, but never anything like this. A pet, he whispered, that could override our defense systems. Valak added, that could hack our drones, speak through our network, and vanish without a trace. Captain Zaire turned slowly. And you allowed this? Valak hesitated. They acted outside protocol, sir. The cadets ran unauthorized tests. Do you think I care about protocol now? The captain snapped. Do you understand what kind of weapon we're dealing with? He walked over to the holly table and tapped the surface. Tycho's face appeared, still and glowing with blue light. This is not just an Earth creature. The captain said, this is something new, far away, in the stolen stealth ship. Reese sat in the pilot's chair while Tycho rested nearby. The small ship was quiet. With soft lights and recycled air, Tycho's eyes were closed, but his mind was awake. He was scanning space, watching for signals. We can't go back now, Reese said quietly. Tycho blinked once. In agreement. I don't know where we're going, Reese admitted, but I trust you'll know when to stop. The bond between them was more than loyalty. It was deep code written into Tycho's creation and into Reese's memories. They had always been meant to run together. Back on the station, the captain had called a council meeting. The highest officers, scientists, and AI advisors gathered. In a dark room lit by floating screens. Before today, we believed humans were simple. Zaire began. Now we have proof that one of them escaped with a living weapon. One we don't understand. The scientist named Ulrich raised a clawed hand. There's a name in old Earth records, he said. Project Helix. He sent a file to the screen classified. Hidden under layers of red tape, it described a hybrid creature made of synthetic flesh and coded intelligence. Adaptive, loyal, nearly impossible to stop. Captain Zaire read every word in silence. So Earth built this as a protector, he said. Not a soldier, but protectors can be more dangerous, Ulrich said, because they don't stop when their human is in danger. They evolve. Zernak, now quiet and pale, stepped forward. I mocked it, he confessed. I called it useless. Truvik added. We all did. The room fell into a heavy silence. Captain Zaire looked at them both. You poked a sleeping fire. Then he turned to his communication officer. Send a signal to all nearby systems, he ordered. Classify the human and the creature as Tier 1 escapees. Priority alert, approach with caution. But do not engage. Valak blinked. Surprised, sir. We're not going to hunt them. Zaire answered slowly. We already tried force, and it failed. This is a matter of survival now, in deep space. Tico's ship floated past a broken moon. Inside, Tico's systems picked up a ping, a faint message, bouncing between old satellites. He replayed it, and a voice came through the static. This is Helix 9, broadcasting from the Sable Ring. If you are one of us, return. Reese looked at Tycho, surprised. There are others. Tycho didn't speak, but his eyes flashed quickly. He changed course, heading toward the Sable Ring, a place thought lost during the collapse. Back on Zerthion Prime, the captain received an incoming call. It was from a High Council member in Alien Elder, with deep knowledge of Earth's history. You've seen it, haven't you? The Elder asked. Captain Zaire nodded. Yes. Then let it go, the Elder warned. If you push it further, you may wake up more than just one. You may start a war you cannot control. The screen went black. Captain Zaire stared out the window again. He no longer saw a harmless creature. He saw the beginning of something greater, something born from human minds, but evolved beyond human limits. He whispered to himself, the galaxy has changed, and it started. With a pet asterisk, the stealth ship moved like a shadow across the stars. Silent, invisible, and guided by a creature the galaxy no longer understood. Tycho sat still beside Reese in the small cockpit, his body glowing faintly with soft pulses, but deep. Inside, his core was changing again. Every scan, every battle, every conversation, it all built something new inside him. Reese noticed the change to Tycho's movements were sharper, his thoughts faster, his silence deeper. He wasn't just reacting anymore, he was planning. They were now close to the Sable Ring, a derelict structure floating on the edge of the forgotten zone. It was once a research station used by humans long ago, before the collapse. Tycho had locked onto a signal there, and they were going in. I hope we're not too late, Reese said softly, looking at the stars. Tycho blinked once, the way he always did, to say, don't worry. But even he wasn't sure what they'd find inside. The Sable Ring. The lights were dead. Old machines lined the walls, and dust floated in weightless silence. But far below, deep in the command deck, something flickered. A backup reactor pulsed, feeding life to a small AI system that had been waiting. For years, it was named Echo, and it was built to guard the secrets of Project Helix. When the stealth ship docked, Echo came alive. Incoming signal detected, it said. Biological match confirmed. Helix unit approaching. The doors opened slowly as Tycho and Reese stepped into the dark hallway. Lights powered on one by one, leading them forward. "It's welcoming us," Reese said, his voice low. Tycho moved ahead, Achaea softly clicking on the metal floor. They passed broken labs, shattered glass, and old weapons things left behind when the world gave up on this place. But now it was calling them back. Back on Zerthion Prime, Captain Zaire received a new report. The human ship entered the Sable Ring, the officer said, and the station. "Came alive?" Valak frowned. "That place is abandoned." "Not anymore," Zaire replied. He turned to his private console and opened a restricted file. It was titled Project Echo, Final Lockdown. Inside were images of Tycho's prototype. Designs, warnings, predictions, but the last page showed something unexpected: a map, and not just of the Sable Ring. It showed 8 other rings scattered across the stars, each with a unique helix signature. They weren't just building one, Zaire whispered. They were building many. He stood up quickly. "Get me the High Council inside the Sable Ring." Tycho and Reese reached the core chamber. There, in the center, was a large glass pot. Inside floated another creature. Like Tycho, but not the same. This one was red, its body longer, sleeker. With wings folded against its back, its eyes were closed, and it didn't move. A voice filled the room. "Unit Helix 7 identified." Activating memory sequence, the walls lit up with images, memories from Earth, labs full of scientists, tests, failures, and hopes. Reese stepped forward, stunned. "This is your brother," he said, looking at Tycho. "Another protector." Tycho moved to the glass and placed his paw on it. The red creature opened its eyes. There was no fear, no confusion, just recognition. The pod opened slowly, and the new helix stepped out, stretching its wings with quiet grace. Designation: Cairo, the system announced. Protocol: Link. Tycho and Cairo stared at each other, then blinked in perfect sync. The room filled with a strange humming sound as their cores connected. Reese stepped back, overwhelmed by the power between them. Meanwhile, in deep space, an old enemy watched. A race of synthetic hunters known as the Draviks picked up the energy spike from the Sable Ring. They had long hunted helix units, fearing their evolution. Now, with 2 awakened, the Draviks moved quickly. A fleet of warships changed course, heading straight for the ring, back inside the station. Tycho and Cairo finished syncing. Now they could share data, memories, instincts, and strength. Reese looked at both and said, "We need to leave soon." But Tycho turned to him and shook his head. "We're not running anymore." Reese understood. This was the turning point. No longer just protectors. They were now leaders. Tycho walked over to the control deck and connected to the system. "Echo," he said, "activate ring defenses." The station lit up with power, weapons rising from the floor, barriers forming on outer walls. Reese stood in awe. "You're going to fight?" Tycho blinked once, then twice. Yes, the Draviks were coming, and this time, they wouldn't be the only ones ready. Alarms echoed across the Sable Ring, far beyond the edge of the station. Red dots appeared on the radar. Dozens of ships. The Draviks had arrived, cold, mechanical, and merciless. They spread across the galaxy like shadows. Long ago, they had tried to destroy the Helix project. Now they were back to finish what they started. Reese stood at the command deck, staring at the screen. "Tycho, they're coming fast," he said, his voice tight. Tycho and Cairo stood side by side, unmoving. But something was different about them now. Their eyes glowed brighter. Their bodies pulsed with stronger energy. They were not just protectors anymore. They were awakened across the station. Echo's voice rang out. Stravik ships entering range. Defensive systems, armed cannon ports opened along the outer ring. Shields activated, and turrets began to spin. But everyone in the room knew it wouldn't be enough. The Draviks weren't just ships. They were weapons of pure code and steel. They adapted, evolved, and erased everything in their path. Reese looked at Tycho. You sure about this? Tycho blinked once. Then Cairo stepped forward and opened his wings fully. A wave of energy burst from his core, flowing through the walls of the station. Suddenly, Echo's systems began to shift. Old walls transformed, lights turned blue and hidden. Helix tech came to life. System upgrade detected, Echo reported. Station is now operating under Helix protocol. The Sable Ring had just become something else. Not just a base but a Helix fortress. The Dravix leader, a tall figure of black metal named Vorin, stood on the bridge of the lead ship. He watched the Sable Ring on his screen and narrowed his glowing eyes. They've awakened another, he growled. An assistant bot hovered beside him. And the human is still alive. Varen's claws scraped the metal railing. Then we wiped them all. The first wave of Dravix drones launched toward the station, fast, spinning, and armed with laser lances. They pierced through space like bullets. The station fired back, turrets striking several down. But more came, faster, smarter. Reese grabbed a blaster from the wall and ran to the viewing deck. He didn't plan to hide if this was the end. He'd face it with the ones who protected him. Suddenly, the walls behind him opened, revealing a massive launch bay. Tycho and Cairo walked forward, now wearing armored extensions, sleek, sharp, and glowing. Tycho turned to Reese and lowered his head for a moment. Reese placed his hand gently on the creature's head. Go, he whispered. Do what you were made to do, Tycho. And Cairo launched from the bay, blasting into space like two beams of light. Outside, the battle exploded into chaos. Tycho struck first, slicing through a Dravix drone with a single spinning claw. Cairo followed, wings cutting like blades. Dropping two more in a flash, they moved as one, connected by instinct and shared memory. The Dravix began to swarm, trying to trap them. But Tycho wasn't the same creature they had once tried to erase. He had watched, waited, learned. And now he had awakened. With every strike, Tycho used advanced moves no one had ever programmed. He redirected enemy weapons, hijacked drone signals, and used enemy fire against them. Cairo flew above, creating pulses that disrupted the Dravix's internal code. One by one, the enemy began to fall. But then Vorin entered the field. His ship broke through the battle lines, shaped like a floating blade. He fired a massive beam straight toward the Sable Ring. The station shook, parts cracked, and shields dropped by 30%. Reese stumbled, but held on, shouting into the comms, Tycho, we need that ship down now. Tycho and Cairo turned, locked eyes, side by side toward Varen's ship. The enemy leader stepped forward inside his ship, watching them come. You think you can stop me, pet? He growled, but Tycho didn't slow. He increased speed, dodging all fire. Until he slammed into the ship's side, Cairo followed, slicing through the outer armor. Inside, they tore through steel doors and defense drones. Finally, they reached Varen's chamber. The leader stood tall, claws ready. You are not protectors, he said. You are monsters. Tycho looked up, glowing bright. No, he replied. We are the ones you feared. Then they attacked. The fight was short but brutal. Tycho moved like lightning, disabling Varan's weapon arm. Cairo flew around him, striking from every angle. Varan screamed, you were just a pet. Tycho delivered the final strike, claws deep into the core. And now I am more, he said. The Dravix ship exploded from within, and the remaining fleet retreated. The battle was over, back on the Sable Ring. Reese watched the screen as the enemy signals vanished. He exhaled slowly, smiling. Tycho and Cairo returned. Their bodies scarred, but their eyes full of fire. The galaxy would never be the same. The pet that watched quietly, day after day, had become something unstoppable. He had been teased, mocked, and tested, but now he was the one they feared, and he was just getting started.